strong at it, and then, you know, maybe I can go 3 miles. I'm like, oh, now I'm running 5Ks. I'm like, oh, now I'm running 10Ks. You know, just meeting myself every day.
Challenging yourself. You're doing the thing.
And rest. Rest is a big piece of it, because I'm like, I recognize at my age, the power of rest and recovery is just as important. Like, I don't gotta do shit every day.
That is something I'm learning for myself too. I'm down 60 pounds.
Amazing.
Trying to lose another solid 60, 80.
So yeah, that's losing significant weight is the definition of like lifestyle change.
Oh yeah.
Because it's the results of habits that have taken and have been adopted, and like, you know, just continuing on with those habits are going to continue getting results. You know.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what's up. That's dope. I'm trying to gain weight. I've gained probably 6 pounds this year.
I will happily give you.
We can trade, bro. I know it's hard work losing weight, but man, it's hard work gaining weight.
Yeah. It's all about body type, right? And like, what genetically, like, are you the type of body that has extremely high metabolism? Mm-hmm. Are you the type of body type, like for me, like I put on muscle extremely quickly. Mm-hmm. Like when I hooped in college for a little bit, they put me on a completely different gym program than the rest of my team because I was just over bulking. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, it explains a lot. The African genes, bro.
I'm saying then you gotta stay busy, because if you put on a bunch of muscle and then don't use it, then it's like you still got the bulk, you know.
Yeah.
I get it, bro. That's how it does. It comes down to your metabolism, your composition. They call it in Ayurveda.
Absolutely.
You know, like everybody's body type is different. There's no one size fits all level of activity or diet that's right for everybody.
Not at all.
It's all about self discovery, really.
That's facts. All right. Yo, I'm ready if you ready.
Yeah, ready.
All right. Nice sip of water for me. All right. 3, 2, 1. You're listening to Plugged In. I'm Jeffrey Bissoy. Plugged In, if you're not familiar, is a podcast where I talk to amazing black and brown creatives and leaders doing dope stuff in the city. And I gotta do, you've seen him on PBS, you probably took a yoga class with him, he meditated, we were talking earlier, he got a wildflower garden that looks incredible. The amazing Chance York, also very talented musician as well. What's up, brother?
Man, I'm chilling. I appreciate the invite.
Nah, I appreciate you for being here, man. I kind of want to get us started. You know, when I think about you, and the way that I connected first with you was through wellness, yoga. I've taken a few sessions with you, done a lot of breath work and all that fun stuff. But like, where did your wellness journey begin?
Man, that's a good question. I mean, I could start way back. Been cleaning my basement, found a bunch of old like report cards in like elementary school, projects and stuff like that, and notes and stuff that my mom had kept from when I was a little kid. And I found my presidential physical fitness results. I don't know if they still do those things, but there used to be the presidential physical fitness like tests that you did. Mm-hmm. And when I was 9 years old, I got that shit. Am I allowed to cuss on this one?
Oh yeah, go ahead, man.
I was just
let it fly.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't gonna be on the radio or anything.
Not yet.
Cool. Yeah, you can edit it. Yeah, don't.
We're not editing on.
So I think I was like, 9 years old, and I was looking at the numbers, and I was impressed. I was like, when I was 9 years old, I ran a 7 minute 40-second mile or something. I'm like, that's impressive. I did 11 pull-ups consecutively. I was like, that's impressive. So I was thinking of that, and I also found a note from my gymnastics coach that was like, it was a letter to my parents that was like, Chance has been identified as someone who has above average, this or that. And just like seeing that gymnastics coach's name, Samir is his name, I was like, dang, that dude really like shaped my life. I was a competitive gymnast starting when I was 8 years old. So that might have been the beginning of my wellness journey, but I wouldn't have considered it a wellness journey then because it was just fun and I was getting, muscles. And because this, Samir was an immigrant from Tunisia, and he just basically told us several times that we had it easy. No matter how hard we were working out, he's like, man, we had it way harder back in Tunisia, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. He definitely did. He definitely did.
And so we would be just, I worked out really hard when I was, 8 or 9 years old. And I quit my gymnastics career when I was 12. So how wild is that? When I was 12, I was ending a gymnastics career.
Is there a reason why you quit? Did you ever build up a new interest? Did you lose interest?
But all of the above, man. It was, I think I was practicing 6 days a week for like 3 hours a day. And injuries and stuff. It's scary, stuff that you're doing. If you mess up, it hurt a lot. And it was just high stakes, everything. And I just kind of grew. I was interested in soccer, by the time, that's when I started playing soccer. I was about 12. But I got second place in the state. That's probably one of my accolades, that I could refer to. And I would travel to regionals and stuff and compete against people that went on to be the captains of the men's Olympic gymnastics team.
Oh, wow.
The Ham twins are their name. I remember competing against them, and that was where I first found out about conditioning. The word conditioning is like, you're practicing all day, your body learns to do things. So like my high school, I was a decent soccer player, but in high school I just kind of discovered I was into like experimenting with chemicals and stuff. So this was also a kind of interesting part of my wellness career, wellness journey. Was I just thought consciousness was a very cool topic, and I liked what like weed and mushrooms and stuff was doing for my psyche.
Absolutely. I'm curious though, before you go on. So like when you watch like Simone Biles or like Sunisa Lee do their stuff, you ever look at it and be like, man, that could have been me?
Bro, what they're doing is light years beyond. Like the sport has evolved exponentially since the 90s when I was doing it. But yeah, I appreciate everything that they're doing. Like Simone Biles, especially when you had all these pundits talking about, oh, you need to go and compete all the time. Like, y'all do not know what you're talking about. If you're doing multiple if you do a single backflip wrong, you can die, dead, or life-changing injury, right? If you're having some, like, I can't remember what they call it, the twisties or whatever, where it's like hard to get your balance. The reason why she didn't compete that one time, like that's a responsible choice to not put your life at risk the way that she chose. And it really actually bothered me the way that people criticized her for not competing, because I'm like, y'all really don't know what you're talking about. It's like people just talk and they don't know. But yeah, I'm impressed greatly by those athletes, and even the men's gymnastics stuff, the stuff that they're doing on the rings, like the iron crosses and just the pure strength stuff, and the pommel horse guy and stuff. Like what the level of like world class competition in the 90s wouldn't even qualify for what's going on right now. Like.
No, honestly, I'm always amazing because I just feel like the power and athleticism is on a whole nother level. I think before, when you used to look at gymnastics, it was the elegance and the grace that led forward, right? I think that was a lot of what made the game. the balance, the poise, right? But now it's like you have all of that.
Plus power.
Explosiveness, speed, the agility is like, this is pay-per-view stuff.
Dude.
Not that it wasn't before. Before, I felt like I was going to the opera. but now it's like, this is the Grand Slam. It is incredible.
And that's in every sport, man. I follow some, skateboarders on Instagram that are like, this is great. Like, how sports evolve is a testament to, my philosophy about, wellness is personal development, man. Like, people are miraculous beings. And when you can combine your time and your attention, your body develops into something supernatural. And those people that you listed are perfect examples of just superhumans that have been able to dial in their attention and had the resources and time and inspiration and leadership to develop to their potential. Not a lot of people get that opportunity or have that dedication or that drive or that grit and just God-given ability. All of that stuff coming together is so inspiring to me. Like, I watch all types of stuff, any kind of sport. When you just see somebody doing something excellently, it's very inspiring to me. No. So yeah, my wellness journey is really about understanding the kind of divinity in my own potential and seeing it in everybody else.
Wow. Talk to me about when you first experienced or discovered yoga. All right, what year was it? What compelled you to go? And what stuck? Why did you stick with it?
Yeah, man, I tell this story so often because it's comical. Touched on it a little bit before. When I was in high school, I was very interested in consciousness because of a bad mushroom trip. When I was like, what is consciousness? What is it? Who's the voice in my head? What are these things? But around that same time, I saw this movie that was about kind of the rave scene. It was called Go. It's a pretty cool movie, but it's about some a drug deal gone bad and something. And there's a scene, I'm pretty sure it's Taye Diggs' character that said something about tantra, and it was referring to some sexual encounter that he had. That was anyways, watch the movie if you want to see the scene. But that stuck with me that tantra was related to sexual experience and performance, and that stuck with me. So when I was 18, I was buying my college textbooks, and on the counter they had all these little pocketbooks for dummies, and they had all types of stuff. But I saw Yoga for Dummies pocket edition. I'm like, give me that. So throw that on there. And my intentions were, I just want to be good at doing it. And that was the very superficial motivation. As an 18-year-old fresh college freshman, I was like, yo, yoga and me. So that was my motivation. I bought the book and was like, just read page 1. Mm-hmm. Okay, a little bit of background, Page 3, it's like, sit up tall, do this. And we were talking about this kind of before we were recording. I've always thought of myself as a physically strong and capable person. Yeah. So yoga, it's sit up tall, tuck your chin like this, breathe like this. And I just started sweating. I was challenged in every way possible. I was physically struggling. I was, mentally and emotionally just torn in every direction. And this book's explaining, just watch what's going on, see what's happening. And I was fascinated. I was like, this was wild. I had an experience that was, something that was similar to what I would relate to a drug or something that I was like, I feel so different. I'm more mellow. That was really challenging, but exciting and inspiring, and like who would have thought just sitting and breathing could do this or that.
Yeah.
And these stretches, made a lot of sense. So that was when I was 18. That was the year 2001.
Wow.
1 or 2 weeks later, 9/11 happened. And I had this awareness of the power of yoga. I was like, oh, I can breathe. I would use some breathing techniques. I'd stretch here and there. But I didn't have a teacher or a community or a class, like you said, till much, much later. So we talked a little bit about it too. My 20s, I was mostly, besides undergraduate college, I also traveled. I lived in Mexico and I lived in Ecuador, studying Spanish and Latin American.
Entonces, se habla español.
Sí, sí.
Y lo practicas.
No tengo muchas veces para practicar.
Look at my guy. He's going to be over at the house even more so
yeah,
now.
I was going to say I'm rusty. I definitely need more
you
practice.
got it.
But traveling and also simultaneously having a band. And again, I was not in any way, wellness wasn't even a part of my thing. Like I was partying. I was all about experiences, which were fruitful, but they weren't always healthy. And in the rock and roll lifestyle that I was living, a lot of my wellness was sacrificed. Long nights, lots of drugs and alcohol, lots of just promiscuous, dangerous situations.
Yeah.
All of that. That was my 20s. And when I was 28, I had a kid on the way, and stopped touring because I was like, I can't keep living in this Winnebago.
Yeah.
Like I need to start doing things differently. But still, it took about 4 more years before I was it was like a quarter-life, midlife crisis where I was really depressed. I had just done a show with Dead Prez. This was like my 3rd show that I'd met these guys, hung out with them. If you don't know, Dead Prez is the bigger than hip-hop guys.
Yep.
But they're also yoga teachers, if you didn't know that.
They're
really? Big, long-time yoga practitioners, philosophers. And every time we're in the green room, kicking it, I talk about, I'm trying to get like y'all, while I'm drinking a
typical brothers. I'm trying to get like you, man.
Exactly.
I see what you're doing over there.
Drinking a tall boy and like burping and like, you want to hit this? And, that type shit.
Yeah.
So it was my 3rd show with them, and there was a lot of just like build up to the show, and after the show, I just kind of experienced this like low, which happens. You go to you have these big, awesome moments that are like, oh yeah, everything makes sense, and then when they're over, it's like, oh, back to like, but that for whatever reason brought me to like a really low. It was just a lot of things building up. Life was big. This was the summer. This was right before the summer that Philando died. But I was in a real deep funk off a dream that I had that was really like kind of disturbing. And it wasn't disturbing at the time, but I had started dream journaling, so I went back to write about it, and all of a sudden my mind just fell into a panic attack, more or less, as I was recognizing the fragility of like society itself.
Mm.
So this is 2016, the rise of politics that we're now familiar with.
Oh yeah.
But it was new to me, and also hearing just like people close to me or my kids like espousing like support for these like obviously racist and divisive beliefs.
Yeah.
Being okay with it, and all of that was creating anxiety for me. And then same summer Philando died, and I was at a real low. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna live beyond this. I'm like, this is just I wasn't like in any type of like self-harm space, but I was just like anxious all the time, and I was like, is this the new normal? I'm like, am I gonna feel like this forever? And it was really scary and all of that. But a band that I was in at the time, Eric Mason's Detail. Shout out Eric Mason, Crunchy Kid. We're performing at the Basilica Block Party. There's protests going on because Philando got killed that week. And I was standing with V. Bowen, another powerful creator.
V's incredible. V, we love you.
Yeah.
She's incredible.
Who's also in the band. And we're standing, so we're inside the festival, right? And there's like barricades and there's protesting going on outside these barricades. And just the perspective, I was like, this is a really weird place. But in general, at that time, everything felt really weird. But after the show, I was hanging out with V, and she's like, we were just talking live. I was like, explaining, I'm like, yo, this shit is hopeless right now. I'm like, there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
How are we, and she suggested that I meet her yoga teacher. She's like, you need to meet my yoga teacher. So this is like, 10:30 at night.
So this is about 16, 15 years after you had first done yoga.
Correct.
When you're like, let me try this out because, it could help me out in other areas.
It's something I always believed in, right?
Right.
Like I was always like, yeah, I need to do that, when I'm with Deb
Absolutely.
Perez or any other friends that were like, you should come to yoga.
Absolutely.
But I would never put myself out there like that, like I know I should do it, but I didn't know where, I didn't have a place, I never really got an invitation.
Yeah.
So V brought me to meet this dude, Matt, and we kicked it for like 2 or 3 hours just talking philosophy and stuff. And he was like, you should be teaching yoga. And
what was your reaction to that?
bro, it was like, ding. First I was like, I could do that? I think about this moment so frequently because this thought would have never come to my mind. It was like, it was never, ever something that was like, you could teach yoga. Never. I never, ever thought of me being a yoga teacher. Just wasn't even. So somebody suggesting it was like, wow, everything makes sense. I'm like, how do I go about that? He's like, well, we got a training starting in the fall, and you could join it. I was like, I don't got a lot of extra money. How much does it cost? Basically, I was on the fence, right? And a couple months passed by. I definitely had thought of the idea. I was like, that's a cool idea, but there's all these reasons why I'm like, I don't think I have 200 hours to study. I don't think I have $3,000 to do it. And I think he had followed up with like, yeah, just come through the first night and see what's up. So I did, and that's when I met Jaina, his business partner at the time. And Jaina came up to me and gave me a hug, like first day, and was just like, I'm so happy you're here. I'm like, first, who are you? Because she's an amazing person, and be like just the hug. I was like, yep. I was like, I'm happy I'm here too. And that quickly led to me staying in the program, and 200 hours of training later. I didn't tell anybody, like I didn't post about it or anything.
Were you worried at all about perception? Like I think now it's much more common to see black folks, even black men, do yoga, even though there's so much destigmatizing that still has to happen. We'll get into that. But when you're doing this in 2016, like, was there a part of you that was a little bit like, I know I got mentors and other folks I played with that have done this, but like, I can't tell nobody about this. This is not masculine enough. Like
there's still, just like you said, we got a long way to go. But 9 years ago, we've come a long way since then. But I was in a unique situation where I'd always made my own lane anyway. Like the music that we made wasn't really commercial, but we always found success. We always did, we were always just ourselves. I was always myself. So I had a following of people that, knew me, liked me, and trusted me.
Yeah.
So when I was able to post, hey, I'm now a certified yoga teacher, and you can come to the band's spot. We had this we call it Third Space off of Broadway in Pierce, in Northeast, and it was a whole ass, like it had a gymnasium. So this was like our party house, but our band headquarters, that we'd throw parties in and stuff. But now I had a gym, and I was like, you can come do yoga, whatever you want to pay, come through and do yoga. There was like 35 people that showed up off of one, social media post.
Wow.
And that was basically the beginning of the rest of my life, because I wasn't that great of a teacher yet at the time, but I had a whole lot of people interested. And that's a big piece of it, is like, you have to have somebody to teach, to practice teaching. So to get good at teaching, you have to practice teaching. So the transition / being a musician with a large social network and people that would come out, allowed me to get good at what I did.
What about your background as a musician and someone that has seen the world and lived in other places, do you think has led to you being a great yoga instructor?
One of the pillars of mindfulness, or one of the attitudes, staples of mindfulness, called beginner's mind, which is ultimately curiosity. It's about how much of our natural program does all this assuming about, like, oh, I know what's going to happen, I've been here before, oh, this is boring because I've already done it. Like, being a musician and a creative person and an entrepreneur that's done a lot of bold things like tour the country and stuff, like DIY style, you have to be able to adopt a beginner's mind.
Yeah.
So I think that's the strongest part of it, is like this curiosity and this openness to kind of like fail forward, like, all right, I wasn't very good, but I'll keep going. Just because it wasn't good doesn't mean I stop here. Beginner's mind is a big piece of it, but also that built-in social capital of being known, liked, and trusted. That people are like, I don't know about yoga, but I know about you, so I'm gonna pull up and see what this is about.
I'm gonna give it a chance,
and
so to speak.
and that's still, a factor. People might know me from the TV show, or they might know me from another thing, but they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll come through because I like you. That social capital piece definitely came from music. That entrepreneurial piece came from music. A beginner's mind came from the me that I'd done, and the traveling. Like, traveling gives you an appreciation for other cultures.
Yeah. So
yoga is most definitely been stewarded by South Asian cultures. It's existed beyond that and outside of that, but this lineage that I teach most definitely is a South Asian tradition. So appreciating that and being curious about that is another big piece. So like all of that would be, and then being in front of a crowd, being able to speak. Like, yoga teaching is speaking. It's creative speaking, it's public speaking. So my I never, like, not having to, obviously, like, just when I was a new yoga teacher, it'd still be nerve-wracking and like, oh, I want to do it right and all of that, but ultimately knowing that I can speak in front of a crowd helps, because I'm like, hey, this is not as hard as other stuff I've done in the past. It's like, hey, this might be hard and nerve-wracking, but it's not as nerve-wracking as other things that I've done before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and rhythm and music and vibe setting and emceeing, and it all goes together.
You've obviously at this stage have taken and taught a bunch of classes, from your beginning days till now. Like, what would you say are, the key things that makes a great yoga instructor? And, now when you take classes with a yoga instructor, if you do take classes with a yoga instructor that's like, they're kind of mid, what is it about their way of guiding? Because I view yoga instructors as guides. Whether you knew, if you've done this for a very long time, you guys are guides to help me feel both and foremost, my best physical self,
Mm-hmm.
elasticity, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I think at the end, it's about feeling a certain sense of both zen and accomplishment.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you think about what makes for a great yoga instructor, what are those qualities? And for, instructors that haven't been up to snuff, like, what are the things that you can pinpoint to, you didn't really hit this mark for me?
Yeah, no, I like that question. It's definitely got me. I have a lot to say about that, but overall, if I go into somebody else's yoga class, I'm not trying to criticize them. I'm just like
deep down, you're like, I would have done this better.
I was gonna say, as a rapper, I might be like, shit was mid, but as a yoga instructor, I'm like, it's a different. I try to enter. It's part of mindfulness. I try to enter things without expectation and just take what it is. Like take what's there, take what serves me, leave the rest. But as a teacher of instructors, like I train teachers, so I give constructive criticism all day. And that's done from a place of like love and care. What makes a good yoga instructor is that they practice. If they're practicing, I can't tell them what doesn't work for them. So like speaking from authority in the sense that there's these texts, there's these poses, there's these techniques and so on, but how do you know them? What do they do for you? If you can teach from that experience, the experience that you have with these things, otherwise wisdom is just words on a page. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Until you've lived it and can breathe life into it and can speak from your experience with that piece of wisdom or with that pose or with that transition or with that technique, that's what makes you great. Because it's like these traditions and stuff, like it's been preserved in all of these great teachings and teachers and so on, but it comes alive when you live it, when you live from it. And teaching from your own experience is what makes a great teacher. So like I might see the same pose, the same sequence of poses, the same whatever, but I might really vibe with somebody just because of the way that they explained it, or they explain a cue about where your toe should be, or what you're picturing when you do it, or where like there's so many nuanced things that are just good cues or subpar cues, and the whole experience is like a work of art. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, that might not have been for me, but it doesn't mean it's bad or whatever. So as far as what makes a great teacher is somebody who practices and somebody who loves the practice, because that'll come across in the way that they teach it. Yeah. There's no one right way to do anything, but if you do it and it speaks to your body and you teach from that, if it doesn't land in my body the same way, that's not your bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, it is what it is. So I appreciate that question in the sense of like what makes something mid. It's like if somebody's trying to perform, like if they're doing stuff and they're trying to like do something that they actually don't do or don't know, that's mid, or it comes off as inauthentic, Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of ways I've seen inauthentic or performative stuff. But yeah, there's just a lot of different schools, a lot of ways to teach, and overall, as long as people are practicing and like really feeling what it's doing to them and teaching from that, rather than just repeating the way that somebody else taught them how to do it or repeating the way that somebody else did it, that's what keeps the practice alive and evolving. It's a lived practice. It's not something that's stuck in a book. It requires practice.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I think something I really appreciated from your classes, first and foremost, going to a class with other black men, right? My brother's heel. Is just a very, very special and unique thing. Wifey, I did yoga before Wifey came into my life. Like I was doing Morning with Adrian, for all the folks who go to my YouTube, or yoga with Bird, There's a bunch of different folks on YouTube that are incredible instructors. But I think when I moved to Mexico City to be with Elena, my wife, yoga was one of her favorite things, and so and I started going on yoga retreats, and then she got mad at me because I was more flexible than her, and all sorts of stuff. But I think yoga has been something that, as an athlete, I always did kind of in hiding, right? Because I knew how good and healing it was. But there's something very vulnerable with doing deep stretches, sweating because you're doing something that doesn't feel like it should hurt the way that it hurts. You know what I mean? Like, you're not boxing out a 7-footer. You know what I'm saying? You're not pushing a guy that's 450 pounds. And so you're just like, man, I'm vulnerable. I got my legs in the air. I got to hold this for 8, 10, 20 seconds. And you're crying on the inside. You're like, if somebody saw me right now, I know I will get roasted, right? And, to go to your sessions, and it's black men from all walks of life, right? Cis, queer, folks that are more streets, folks that might be, more, written word and sophisticated, if you will. Street folks can be sophisticated too, but, I'm losing the words right now. You really just have everybody in there, and everybody's being vulnerable. And I think what I really loved about the class I took with you is you're really good about allowing people to come as they are. And I've been in some yoga classes where, the instructor would just start just going fast because it might be a slightly more advanced class. And it's like, even in an advanced class, maybe that's just not my day. Right? And so I really appreciate that, just bro to bro, for creating a welcoming space for black men. And I wanted to ask you, as a black yoga instructor, what are the barriers that you had to face or continue to face that we will just never know about because it happens behind the scenes or because you just hold it together so well?
Dude, great question. That's, again, and inspired. It provokes a lot of thought. I don't have an answer formulated, but I liked how you use the word vulnerability. I mean, that's the essence of it. It is a vulnerable practice. So, a lot of yoga spaces, as inviting as they may seem or intend to be, it's really uninviting if you walk in, you're the only dude, the only person of color, the only dude of color. So when you go in, it's a vulnerable thing because you're working with your edges. It's uncomfortable. You're doing all this stuff. The barrier is that, we as black men, I believe, have been conditioned to not be vulnerable on purpose.
Oh, yeah. The road's tough. It's tough on us. We can't hold everything on our sleeve.
And this is why, this is also why I speak to the potential of it, is if we can, not to zoom out too far, but, colonialism or, whatever type of construct about who we are is formed. It's not us who tells us the first story of who we are, and so there's a process of unlearning. There's a process of looking deeply into does this actually serve me, or is this something I've just been told so much, or I tell myself so much that I believe is true.
Yes, sir.
So one thing is some I guess limiting belief that vulnerability is weak. And that couldn't be further from the truth. It's weakness is just being hard and tough all the time.
Yep.
It's it's safer to be hard and tough and guarded all the time. That's not courageous. What's courageous is to be able to let down the walls, to open your heart, to unclench, to unguard, to soften. Which is another, just even the word soft. You don't want to be soft. Soft.
What you mean I gotta be soft, man? Come on, Chance.
So this
can be soft out here on purpose.
This is exactly, so these are barriers, right? You know what I mean? So I like to, you know, I've always been into martial arts, the philosophy of martial arts. I've always liked Bruce Lee, you know, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, like that type of like, you know, tough spirituality, because it's like, oh, this makes you a better fighter or whatever, you know, like it's not soft because it makes you stronger or whatever, you know, like that, whatever bargaining that I'm doing in my own with my own masculinity or whatever. But the idea is yin and yang, yin and yang, you know, hard and soft. Balance is what health is. If you're hard all the time, stress is going to kill you.
Yeah.
Isolation is going to kill you.
Yeah.
Loneliness is going to kill you.
Yeah.
That's scientifically proven, but not just science. That's in my experience. I've lived that experience. I know how lonely it can be trying to be hard all the time. It's isolating. It might feel safe, but it's actually really dangerous. So vulnerability is the opportunity to be soft, to be honest, to be vulnerable. That takes real courage.
Yeah, it does.
To take your armor off, to unclench, you know, and to do that in a room full of people, that might already be several steps outside of somebody's comfort zone.
Ooh.
But if we can take away the, you know, the racial and, you know,
even the gender.
that's what I'm saying. If we can relieve that obstacle, then, you know, we can create a lot of possibility for safe spaces. And it's all about working toward, you know, working skillfully with the edge of your comfort zone. So for me, you know, just yoga teacher training, there's only one other dude in my yoga teacher training 9 years ago.
Wow.
The only other person of color, if I recall, was Jaina, who was teaching it. But I was like, I'm here, you know, whatever. I'm a beginner, fucking don't judge me.
Yeah.
And plus, I'm pretty strong, so like, you can't do this shit. Like, look at this shit. And the avenue of like being of the physical, you know, athletic competitor that I am was like, I'm good at this. Like, I'm already good at this type shit. That gave me a confidence to realize I'm really not good at this shit, but I can keep on showing up till I'm good, and it is safe. Nobody's out here judging me or whatever. No matter, even if that's going through my head, like, oh, these people are judging me or whatever. It's like, normally people don't give a fuck, and if they are, that's their practice. That's not my practice. That's their shit on their mat. What's on my mat is what I bring to it.
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot to that. Like, I feel like I'm definitely touching on the question that you asked, but as far as barriers go, there's a lot. If I can, you know, I offer stuff online too, and on video. If it doesn't fit into your schedule, just put on this video in the comfort of your own place and vibe with it, you know?
Hello, we got Yoga with Chance on YouTube, and I didn't know.
Hey, dude, you about to get the link, bro.
Yo!
It's on Zoom. There's quite a few like older ones, but every Monday I stream a Zoom class live, and yeah, listeners, every Monday I stream a Zoom class live. Just get at me on the socials. I'll send you the link, but I also record it so you can review the videos at your own leisure. It's about an hour-long practice. It's fairly accessible. I'd say most able-bodied people can get a lot of benefit out of it. And then even if you're dealing with other stuff, injuries or disabilities, temporary or permanent, there's modifications that can be made as long as I know that you're watching. So that's a benefit of tuning in live. But yeah, the safety of your own home, but then also, you know, our big goal, Jaina, my teacher from my YTT, is my business partner now, and we have Peace in Practice, which our whole intention is to create more, you know, inviting spaces. Again, like, not to say that yoga spaces aren't inviting, they're just already white.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
like, that's
very white spaces.
it's like that. That's a thing that's like, whatever. There's no need to change that. We can make spaces that are just by default not white. Not to say white people aren't invited. It's just a thing of like, you know, we're creating our own space for that majority of people that and there's lots of men, lots of people of color, various ages, young folks, old folks. It's intergenerational. So yeah, as far as barriers go, people just have to be able to work skillfully with the edge of their comfort zone, without entirely leaving it. You know, like, because that also can just be too much. You know, like can we, when you stretch, right? It's helpful if you stretch the right amount. If you stretch too far, you'll get injured.
Yep.
It's the same with your, perceived comfort zone, socially, physically, emotionally. You want to work skillfully with the edge and not go past the edge and not take yourself entirely out of safety and stuff and get overwhelmed, because whether or not you know it happening at the same time, your subconscious is going to be like, we're never doing that again, and make every excuse not to do it again. So whether that's stretching too far or doing stuff you can't do, or spending too much time in a space that doesn't feel safe, or inviting, or too judgy, or whatever, you want to work skillfully with your edge. That's all the practice is.
Absolutely. And if you're someone that's very competitive like I am, I'm not gonna lie to you, wife used to come at me, man. I used to be harsh against yoga, even when I did it. I was doing it actively, and she would invite me to class. I'm like, I'm not doing it. She'd be like, why aren't you going? I was like, because I'm very competitive, and when I work out, I like it to be competitive, right? I like it to be hard. I like to push the iron, whatever, right? But when you go to a yoga class, if you're competitive like I am, there's nothing more competitive that wakes up that spirit than when you see somebody in your class hold some of the positions that they do, and your body just responds to you, I don't have the capacity.
I can't do that.
I can't do that.
Especially if it's like the person you're talking about is like a 65-year-old woman, You're like, man, I can't do it. Like, I don't got it like that, That can, because we have these perceptions that, hey, we need to be able to do what everybody else is doing.
Absolutely.
And, all of that. And again, it comes back to that non-assuming type shit. Like, be curious. Be curious about what is here right now. And even if you can do something one day, that doesn't mean you can do it today.
Yeah.
And then if you can't do something today, that doesn't mean you won't be able to do it a week from now if you keep on just going skillfully to your comfortable edge and breathing and observing what is there and watching it change. So that's the power of yoga and meditation. It's really just a way to see yourself, to visit yourself, to witness yourself. Yeah. Because when you do, what you witness is change. It is always changing. Yeah, and that can be, again, that takes some vulnerability. That can be terrifying because a lot of our, psyche or perception is like, this is who I am. This, I ain't never change up. But we're always changing, yo.
Always changing. You wake up one day, you got a scar underneath your body changing. You didn't do nothing. But life is forcing you to change.
Especially the older you get, I was 33 when I started practicing, there's a lot of stuff where it's like, damn, I don't even gotta do nothing to wake up sore. Or like, damn, if you sneeze the wrong way, like my back. Like all of that is, part of the, the wake up that it took for me to recognize like, yo, stuff is changing and I'm not paying attention to right here and right now. And when I do pay attention to right here and right now, then I have a little bit more say or intention about where I'm changing toward.
Absolutely. And I think the last thing I said about the competitive thing too is that you can compete with other folks, but what I've really appreciated, and I need to get back to going to classes. I know you used to send a lot of invites to me, so I got to start accepting them.
I'm saying tonight, I was like, we got every Wednesday night.
Wednesdays when I play soccer, otherwise we'll find another day. But what I do appreciate is there is a certain level of joy that I was mad I was so happy. That's how competitive I am. Because I want to hate so bad. I'm honest. I want to hate on yoga so bad, but I can't. Because I know how important it is. I know the impact it has on me. But the joy that I have when I go through a whole sequence, that when the instructor is going through it, in my head, I'm going, hell no. I'm not doing that. And then I'm getting down, I got my arm in the air a certain way, look back at the same time, hold it, we're reversing it, we're doing this 5 times, hold it 20 seconds, you're breathing, sweat dripping. I'm like, ain't no way. You go through all 5 of them and you do it. You were talking about that 65-year-old in the corner that can hold herself up like this with her legs in the air, and she can do it for 15 seconds, and you manage to do it for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Dog, you go back in your car, you just smiling. Like, I be mad, I'm smiling. Like, why am I smiling right now? Because it is so challenging, but at the same time, it is so rewarding.
Bro,
it is an extremely rewarding practice.
You painted a picture that is, so if you think about back to the fact when I was a teenager, like experimenting with chemicals was what I thought I was supposed to do, and what I realized as a grown person is the chemicals are already in your body, and experimenting with your body is how you release those chemicals to change the experience, right? You got what the acronym DOSE, DOSE, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. This is your natural pharmacy that makes you feel good. The process of practicing yoga in a group of people releases all 4 of those abundantly.
Wow.
So people do get high, or like you might leave, like some people call it yoga brain or something, where you just say, and it'll find you, like. And this isn't like, there's no guarantees, but the likelihood of you feeling lighter, looser, easier, happy, more joyful is very high. The likelihood is very high just by practicing and moving, but without overdoing it, and continuing to just show up and see what's there. Getting through a challenge is rewarded. It's rewarded, and you're using all of the dose. You're using all of your feel-good things in the process of an asana practice or a yoga posing and breathing practice. So the poses, the stillness, the breath, all of it is what I like to call simulated stress. It's real stress, right? It's real physical stress that you're putting on your body.
Yeah.
And what you're doing is dealing with it, witnessing yourself deal with it. Yeah. So it's like, dang, this is really hard. Oh, but I forgot I'm not breathing. And when you breathe, it creates a different, dose in your body, the way that you're breathing. So you see the stress, you witness the stress, and then you witness how you change your relationship to the stress. Oh, yeah. And that translates way off the mat. After you leave, it's the same thing. You get in an argument with somebody, like, fuck, I forgot to breathe.
Yep.
Like, okay, now I'm breathing again. And so the practice does really translate into your life in a way that you really deal with stress differently. That's what I teach at the University of Minnesota. But what you were talking about, how you're like reluctant, like I want to hate on this so much.
I really do. I ain't gonna lie.
I work with a lot of young black men in various scenes in the Twin Cities. From teens, like 16, 17, up to like early 20s. And they want to hate on it so bad, but sometimes they'll reluctantly be like, all right, I'll practice with you, cool. And then they do it, and they're like, damn, that feels good, I ain't gonna lie. Like that's what I always call it. I feel so good, I ain't gonna lie, because they want to not feel good.
No, exactly. You don't want to admit that you really liked yoga. You don't want to.
I'm saying
it's a community thing.
It's so deep. I'm saying it's so deep, bro. It's just seeing it brings me so much joy, because it's always like, they get into a pose and all of a sudden they'll just start laughing or like fall out with just laughter and joy, and that stuff is waiting in our body to be discovered, bro. Like the conditioning that we've been put through in this, again, it's like colonialism, but just our modern world. It's everybody's head is in a vice grip. Everybody's program is self-destructive. It's not that we're just born with it, but it's just reinforced from every angle until we reinforce it on ourselves. We become the belief that we are this limited thing and that we have to be mad all the time or whatever. And this not to be mistaken for, like toxic spirituality that's like, oh, just nothing but positive vibes. It's not about just being positive. It's about actually being able to deal with the negative too and incorporate that into your wholeness. Again, it's not about one or the other, it's about balance. But we are so drastically imbalanced to the negative, like we spend a lot more time and focus and energy and attention on negative things. And that is it takes a process of unlearning, and when we witness it, then it's like, oh damn, maybe the conditions aren't what I'm mad about, it's how I'm relating to my conditions. And then we change our role, depending on the situation, from victim to creator, and it all has it has this ever evolving relationship with yourself that makes you perhaps more sensitive, which like I ain't trying to be soft.
I ain't trying to be soft out here. I'm already 6'3", kids. Like I'm 6'3", I be pulling up in shorts and a tank top, and you trying to have me in a happy baby? Ain't nobody called me a happy baby since my mama changed. What you trying to do?
So sensitive, right? And again, that's not a bad thing, right?
Yeah.
Being able to know how you feel is a healthy thing. It's a whole wellness, right? But it's vulnerable.
It is.
But it'll make you more sensitive, but it'll also make you more responsible. It'll make you change your relationship to all things by changing your relationship to yourself. And I'm saying this sounds all deep and stuff. It's not that deep.
It is that deep.
I'm saying it is that deep, but the practice of it is sit up and breathe. And sit up and breathe again. Oh, sit up and breathe again. Oh, you watch your mind go back to the program. Come back here and witness something else. And like that's all it is. Starting over again right here and right now. It's simple, but it's not easy. It's actually really challenging. And there's a lot, and people come in assuming like, I can do anything, and then it's like, oh, that was really hard. I did too much. I'm never doing that again because that made me feel like I ain't shit. But again, with balance, we live in an ego-driven society. We think we're the shit even if we're not. So the balance is like, hey, we also aren't shit, and that's healthy too. Yeah. And recognizing a balance of like, from one perspective, we are the creator of our experience, and from one perspective, we're also not shit. Can we combine those things in a healthy, balanced way that is our whole being, instead of like living in one extreme or the other?
Yo, you probably heard me breathing a little bit. I think it's because I was taking it all in. Because you are speaking to something even bigger than yoga, but I think what yoga provides, which is a forced but meaningful pause. To release, accept, let go of not only stress, of the toxins of everyday, literal toxins, but in addition to these things and all the negativity that comes across the screen on IG and TikTok and Facebook, your colleague who was talking to you crazy, your mama stressing you out because of XYZ, your brother be talking, you know what I'm saying? And you're forced to both breathe it all in, breathe it all down. And so you probably heard me breathing. I mean, you make me want to run downstairs and grab my yoga mat.
Hey, bro.
Honestly.
I was like, if you didn't have soccer, we'd be going to yoga in a couple hours.
But, I'm thinking about folks who are listening who've probably tried yoga before. They were like, it's not for me, or folks who've been thinking about trying yoga. Black and brown folks, obviously, that are like, yo, this has been amazing chance. You've, spoken about some things I would love to check out. Like, what would you say is kind of like the best starting point for folks who want to give breathwork a chance, or folks who want to give yoga a chance, for folks who even talk about this, but even like things like sound baths a chance. There's so many different things that go into the holistic and wellness journey. It looks like a lot of different things, but I like to think about those things for me because there are things that I really appreciated. But like, what would you say is, one of the most accessible things that folks can take as their very first step?
Whoa, love your questions, man. So with all of the things that you listed, the through line, or the thing that knits it all together, is presence. It's about being present. So if we're on our phone scrolling, it's the definition of taking our attention and putting it somewhere else. A different time, a different place. We can beam ourselves across the world. We could live in the past, predict the future. That's what our brain is already doing naturally. It's trying to go somewhere else. being present is what all of these practices are being about. Whether you're breathing or listening to a sound bath or stretching or whatever, your attention is being drawn from wherever it went, wherever the program is taking you. Oh, I got to do my to-do list. Oh, did you see that Netflix 2 weeks ago? Oh, did you believe my coworker said that crazy shit last year? Your mind is going elsewhere all the time.
Playing ping pong.
And we're pulling our attention back to the present moment. And it's not even like a pulling back. It's more like we're letting go of whatever that thing is long enough to remember that we're right here. So there's probably, for most of us, there's already actions in our life that do that for us. Maybe it's time with family, maybe it's a walk, maybe it's gardening, cooking. There's all types of opportunities throughout the day to just be all the way present. All the way in your senses, to feel your feet on the ground, to feel your breath coming and going, to feel the aches and pains in your shoulders. All of that is happening right now. And whatever brings us to that, that's where we start. It could be prayer, it could be reading, it could be singing. All of these things are embodied practices in the present moment. Do those. That's a great place to start. If you're looking to getting into more formal meditative practices, YouTube, Instagram is surprisingly full of great opportunities. There's apps and stuff too that'll guide you through stuff. It's helpful to have a community. It's helpful to be in a room that kind of holds you accountable, because you might throw on a video and start stretching for 2 minutes and be like, oh, I got some other shit to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Walk away and do it. But if you're in a room where you're like, I'm here already, I drove here.
Sometimes
whatever.
it's free, sometimes you pay for it, but once you're there, you're there.
You're
right?
there, and you're just there, and there's, your mind can wander, but your body's still there on the mat, and you can keep coming back to your mat. So, good ways to get involved. If you want to learn from me, like I said, there's you can get at me on Instagram, Chance Connected. Also, my email is chanceconnected@gmail. You can send me a request there, and I'll send you the link to the weekly Zoom or the replay videos from that week. And you can watch it on your own time. Those practices are about an hour, but they're highly accessible. I give a lot of options, a lot of choices. If you're able to get onto the ground and back up, a lot of it is pretty doable. And again, a lot of choices and just like pace that you can opt out of anything if it seems too extreme. Because not every body is different. What you do with your body, it is like, if you don't use some mobility, you lose that mobility. If you don't use your flexibility, you lose that flexibility. If you don't use your strength, you lose that strength. But that's okay, because this practice will show you that it comes back as long as you're using it. And the right way to use it is just go to your comfortable edge, which is going to be different for everybody. Some of my practices start off with just 10 minutes of like turning your head and shrugging your shoulders. It can be pretty accessible, and then it gets into tougher stuff like down dogs and planks and stuff. But I give lots of options if down dog and plank is not in your physical ability set. And again, the practice is about working skillfully with your comfortable edge. And there's chair yoga videos. You go on YouTube, type in Chance York Yoga or Chance York Chair Yoga. Years ago, I was doing live streams for the YMCA. All that stuff's archived. Chair yoga, you're just sitting in a chair, but you might do some stuff with your arms, with your breath, with your spine, but you're doing it from a chair, so that's even more accessible.
So especially for some of my older folks, Mom, if you're listening, this is for you.
Yeah.
You have no excuse.
Yeah, and otherwise, if you're in the Twin Cities area, depending on when you're listening to this, we've had a community class every Wednesday night. Doors are at 7, the flow's about 7:30, and it goes till about 9, and there's refreshments and stuff after, but that's pay what you want, and it is, again, accessible. There's lots of options, lots of choices. There's people that are pregnant, there's people that are older, there's people that are younger, and there's people that can stand on their head no problem. It's a variety of abilities, but everybody can find a meaningful time out of it. So that's over Northside Art Space Lofts. You can also find that info on my Instagram. And then if you're like kind of like have done some stuff and you're looking for a way to like bring that mindfulness into your life, I teach a course at the University of Minnesota called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. It's an 8-week course. You learn many methods of meditation, which include yoga and qigong, which is the predecessor to Tai Chi, mindful eating, body scan meditation, laying, sitting, standing, all types of different ways to meditate. And we're just in a wealth of information, so if you find something on YouTube that you really resonate with, do that. If you don't like it, find something else. There's an abundance out there. I most definitely will respond to any emails if you're curious.
I love that. I want to close things up. I was like, getting a sense of what each of my guests is taking in from the world that they would love to plug other people to. This can be something that gives you joy. It can be something that gives you pause. It can be something that you're like, oh, that's really interesting. So the way I frame the question is, what are things that you are reading, watching, observing, or doing that you want to plug other people to?
Yeah, there's a lot. Recently, I've just been reading a lot of academic stuff related to MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction. So I guess I plug kind of the key reading for that. It's called Full Catastrophe Living. I got to meet the author last month. Very profound dude. So yeah, reading. Most of my reading's been academic lately. Watching. I've been watching Heroes.
Yes, sir.
From the 2007 or whatever.
Yeah.
That's been bringing me down memory lane. I don't know if that's just kind of a nostalgia. It's a nostalgia thing for me that hits home. And if it's about putting people on or like some suggested reading, I really liked this book called Becoming Supernatural. It's been a while since I've revisited it, but it was prolific at the time. I think it was about 2018 when I read it, and it talks about some of the things that I was talking about, that we're conditioned, and that our body is a pharmacy, and we are this close to creating any experience that we want to have, regardless of external stimuli. So like as long as your basic needs are met, as far as like safety, shelter, food, and drink, like you can basically feel like $1 million if you have that type of practice. If you can create those conditions in your body, you can feel very differently, and in doing so, by changing the way that you feel, changes the way you move through the world, and then changes the way that you experience life, and life experiences you. So Becoming Supernatural, that's another good one.
That's really dope. I love that because I tell folks all the time, a lot of folks know this, I was laid off twice over the last year, and I've been navigating that. And, everybody's always checking in on me like, Jeff, how you doing? Jeff, how you doing? You hold it down. I'm like, objectively, I'm happy as hell.
Yeah.
I'm so happy. They're like, yeah, but you don't got a job. I'm like, look, that's the only stress I have in my life right now is how am I sustaining my businesses and bringing more money in. That's my only stress. I have a beautiful home, have an incredible wife.
Healthy.
I'm healthy, knock on wood. You know, so a few things high from my physical, but it's all good things we're working on. Got a great family, got incredible friends. I live in a great state. I know winter's coming, but still, like, you know, when you were talking about that and how you can feel like $1 million. I may not have $1 million in a bank account, but I truly feel like I have $1 million because I'm good. And there is no price, truthfully. There's some prices that's involved in getting there, but there truly is no price on all of that. So I appreciate you sharing that.
The power of perspective, man, because this is the thing about, you know, what I've gathered in my world travels or the handful of experiences I've had in my life is that, you know, external conditions do not dictate. I mean, obviously there are conditions that can entirely dictate how you feel inside, but for the most part, the way you feel inside is routine. It's a program that can be, you know, reprogrammed to feel a completely different way, which makes you move differently, makes you feel differently, makes you see opportunities differently, relate to people differently, and it changes your whole life. And that's that, again, that yin and yang, that there's for sure a world around you that is like most of it entirely out of your control. Yeah. But there's a whole world, universe inside you that is more in your control than you realize, or what we're used to not thinking of as in control. And it starts with just noticing that we're in control of how we're breathing, and how we're sitting, holding gravity. And when you become aware of those, you know, seemingly small things that you can control, and you make a practice out of controlling the things you can control, that has an empowering effect about the way that you feel. And on the flip side of that, which I feel like a lot of us are programmed to do, is we spend a lot of attention and time on things that we do not control. Other people's opinions of us, you know, global politics to a certain degree, you know.
Guilty of that, for sure.
And so on. Like, we spend a lot of time, you know, like, and some people, you know, obsess over celebrities, what they're eating for breakfast and shit. You know, it's like, when we spend our attention on stuff that we don't control, the natural outcome over time is a feeling of powerlessness. When we direct our attention to the things we can control, sometimes big, but sometimes as small as how we're breathing and how we're sitting, when we have the courage to control the things we can, the feeling is empowerment. And that's an empowering state of being, because if the way that you feel is habit, whatever you practice the most is how you habitually are, you know. So again, it's not to say you're never gonna experience hardship or feel down again. It's like, no, there will be conditions that bring about that naturally, but if you just feel that way because you're used to feeling that way, that's different. And that's in the vulnerability of actually being able to assess that and look in honestly and own that, you know. It's a life-changing practice, and it's an ongoing practice. It doesn't stop. As long as you're alive, yoga, mindfulness can be helpful lenses to view the world through.
Absolutely.
You know, like, because challenges change, you know, like sooner or later we might lose all of our abilities if we are lucky enough to live a long life and become old. We have to let go of all these things too, you know, and all of our blessings are temporary. All of our abilities are temporary.
Absolutely.
All of our hardships are temporary.
Yeah, they are.
You know,
yes,
so that's really the message that I like to leave with people. It's essentially the serenity prayer. You know, like, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You know, like that's a practice. That's not just like hollow words. Again, like, it's just words until you live it.
Absolutely.
You know, until it makes sense in your life, it's just words. But when it makes sense in your life, that is wisdom. You know?
Absolutely. No, I'm taking it in. I hope y'all are taking notes. He's Chance York. You can follow him, Chance Connected. Check out his classes. I highly recommend it. Just a super dope dude. We didn't even touch into all the other creative passions that he has, but yo, Chance, I appreciate you joining me on Plugged In, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. My God.
Yes, sir.
You heard? Nah. How's everything? How's everything?
I gotta pee.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Real good.